hey, we're living in a world where AI is helping us optimize our work, save time, maybe make some more money and all this stuff. But who's here talking about optimizing our bodies using a thing that's not so publicly known, but you might have heard about it. So this thing we're talking about are peptides. So my friend, really good friend, Joy Houston, I actually ran into her at a conference right after I dislocated my pinky doing jujitsu. I was training for a tournament, like literally days before, dislocated this thing. It was nasty. I won't show the x-ray unless you want to hit me up. I'm glad to share it with you. But I've been using peptides ever since seeing her because she was like, you need BPC 157, like stat. So she gave me the info, hooked it up, and I went on my way, and I've been using it since. So Joy is going to break down what peptides are in her playbook. She's literally giving you a free guide, which I'm going to give to you. There's no opt-in, no nothing. She made it just for this episode and for you. She's going to break down what these things are. Like, what are the other peptides? What are real world stacks or like formulas that people are using? What are the costs associated? What are common mistakes? And why has this thing been kind of hush hush and been in this biohacking community and subculture? And why hasn't it been brought to light? That's what we're doing here on this episode with Joy. It's awesome. We could have gone for a lot longer. Before you get in, I highly urge you to get the resource that her and her awesome husband, Travis, put together. The website is getmypeptides.com. Getmypeptides.com. There's no opt-in. It literally is just going to redirect to a Google Doc that has all the resources we're talking about. So as you're listening or watching along, just make sure you go to getmypeptides.com first, and you'll be able to follow along a lot better and know what Joy's talking about, because she's going to give you a lot of information. It's awesome. That's going to help you out. So enjoy the episode. Please let her or me know how it goes. And if you have any questions, we're here and available. All right. See you later. And by the way, we're not doctors. This is not medical advice. Do your own research. We say that about like a million times in the episode. Remember that this is just first world experience that we want to put out there. So hopefully it helps you or someone else. All right. Peace. Enjoy. Joy, we are doing this. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing awesome. I'm so happy to be here with you. Send my love to Heather.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Back to Travis as well. We've been talking about this for a long time, having you on the show. And I think we're gonna do a two-parter. And so this is the first of another one to come. And I'm happy that we're doing this one first, because it's like been super timely with what we've been talking about and what you're doing, and me with an injury, which we'll talk about what that all means. But where do we? Yeah, we're going to talk about stuff that's like what? It's the conversations that are not really happening, but maybe they're behind the scenes, but we just want to bring them to the forefront, right? And
yeah, I think what happened between us was pretty, that was synergistic. So you guys are all in the loop. We were both at Perry Belcher's event recently, and love Joe. He's been a family friend of my husband and I's for a while. He and his wife Heather are amazing. You guys already know that. But he rolled up with a fat injury, jujitsu, right?
That's right. Yes, it was a dislocated pinky, and it was nasty.
It was nasty, and I took one look at that and I was like, are you at least doing some BPC 157 injections in that, bro? Because like you just heard it, and like now's the time.
Yeah, and I was like, what is that? Yeah, tell me more. So,
yeah, and I kind of think that's indicative of what's happening. Like a lot of people who are in the marketing space, in the entrepreneurial space, the AI space, like a lot of us are also just sort of these driven type of personalities. Driven. It's not a plug for Perry's mastermind, by the way, but good people over there. Good people, right? Emma, Perry, we love you.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of this really driven community, whereas driven to serve our audiences and to make money, in being that driven, one of the things we all have in common is that most of us are looking to really stay very progressive, like about our health, really stay at the bleeding edge of what's possible. So I don't know about you, but I know in the masterminds that I'm in the private groups that I'm in the entrepreneurial space, a lot of us have the majority of the conversation in our masterminds is business, of course. Let's make money. Let's serve our audiences. But there's always been this sort of undercurrent of what can we do to keep our bodies strong, our relationships strong, all these things that like make us stay on our A game. And a lot of that conversation over the past couple of years, honestly, maybe 5 years in our community was peptides. I feel like first it was like stem cells. Everybody was like, let's do stem cells. You know what I mean? And then I think the conversation has shifted a lot towards peptides. And it's a gray area, right? Because, big pharma, FDA, like they don't really know what to do with it, because if you don't know what peptides are, like they're amino acid chains, and our body make these amino acid chains. So it kind of falls into that weird category of like, well, we can't slap a trademark on it so big pharma can make big money, and it's a little difficult to regulate because we make these things. For God's sake, insulin is a peptide and we use that like crazy, right? So it's just kind of hovered in this really gray area, and I find that there's been two lanes, like two very distinct lanes. There's like the education lane, right? There's like, we will talk to you about what we're doing with peptides and how we're using peptides. There are several education courses, like online education courses. I've taken some. And I've even taken one that is meant to certify practitioners who want to do it. Not because I am a practitioner. I'm the CEO of Heal at Scale. And so my entire audience is health entrepreneurs, right? So these are, think clinicians that don't want to work at Kaiser Hospital or clinic. These are truly health entrepreneurs. They want to serve people at scale with things like group programs, private label supplements, writing their own books. They want to take their knowledge and scale. And so obviously those kind of health entrepreneurs are not your basic doctor, right?
No.
They're already entrepreneurial. They're already wanting to be on the bleeding edge, first of holistic medicine and then functional medicine. And then Tony Robbins' book brought around the term precision medicine, whatever you call it, right?
Yeah.
But those type of people like to stay at this super, super bleeding edge. And because of that, I've been given access to, courses and certifications on that. And just as a personal passion, I geek out on it and I love to know it. But there's that lane. There's like, you can learn about it. And then there's a completely separate lane, maybe even two lanes I think we should talk about. And that's like, how do I get my hands on the peptides in order to use them? And even that lane kind of has two. It has like, you can get the peptides in one lane, but you can't get the syringes and the bacteriostatic water that you hydrate the peptides with. So if you guys don't know, peptides come as a powder. They come in little vials. And then you reconstitute them by adding bacteriostatic water if you're going to inject it, and bacteriostatic saline if you're going to like use it as a nasal spray. But oddly enough, because it's so gray, you can either sell the powdered peptides or you can sell the bacteriostatic and the injectables, but you cannot cross the streams. It's like in Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah. It's true. You can't do it. All right, Joy. I want to break it down like exactly like so because what I've found when I bring up that I've been using peptides to help my injury. So I've literally and I'll set the scene so it was, I don't know, 4 weeks or maybe 5 weeks at this point. Yeah, crazy, basically jiu-jitsu injury. This thing popped out of its sock. It was nasty.
Yeah, you guys, it looked gross. It was like,
I don't know if
I
I'll
was
show
afraid for him.
Yeah. I'm not going to show the x-ray on screen. I kind of want to, but I'll probably freak out half the audience or more. So, but the point is it's fun. Oh, it's not fine. It's still a little crooked, but it's feeling better. And I've been using, so found Joy, knew you'd be there, but then told you what happened. And then literally you had BPC 157, and that's one of the peptides along with another one I'm using, but I've been injecting it basically. It's pretty close as possible to the site there. And we are not doctors. Like we said, none of this is doctor advice, not medical advice, do your own research. But I've seen a noticeable difference. And obviously I don't have anything to compare it to. I've never done this kind of injury before, but it's wowed me. Like there's still a little achiness in there, but to be like 3 weeks, I think is what it took. I was like, holy crap, I can like move fairly well. But I've heard
so you saw a difference. You felt a difference yourself.
Absolutely.
Well, that's kind of how we got into this world. Like because of serving health entrepreneur audience, like, they were kind of in the ether. They were kind of out there like stem cells. But we decided, do you remember back when Travis and I went on this bender of like, well, can we be digital nomads? You know, like,
yeah.
and we were like, me and Maverick really wanted to go to Thailand, so we're like, screw it, we're just gonna, we can work anywhere because we're online. Let's go to Thailand for 3 months, So we rented this mansion in Thailand. It was gorgeous. We had a great time. People cycled through visiting us. But like 2 weeks before we were set to head home, and if I won't throw Travis under the bus for how old he is, but if you're in your late 40s, then you may have heard many of your friends who have some sort of injury where like they're playing pickleball or they're just running or they're doing something they normally do. And all of a sudden they hear an extreme pop in their ankle and it feels like they got, bit or stung or, hacked with a needle. Yeah. He had torn his Achilles.
Oof.
He had torn his Achilles, and we're in Thailand on Koh Samui, so not even on the mainland. So we're like on this little island, like middle of nowhere. It was this whole huge thing, right? So he had to go to the ER, and then they had to ambulance him on a ferry back to the mainland where there was an MRI machine. It was this whole messed up thing, okay? Anyways, like we get him in a cast, we come home, we confirm here with surgeons in the States, like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. They nailed it exactly right. The research is exactly right what they gave us. And if you don't know, basically, if you tear your Achilles, they're like, it's 50-50. If you do the surgery, if you don't do the surgery, the healing time is the same. The recovery of injury, or the recurrence rate is the same. Mm-hmm. So they basically said, look, dude, unless you had some, college football scholarship, there's really no reason for us to do this surgery on you. You have to wear a boot. And so he was wearing a boot, and Travis, he's not like lazy. He's very competitive. He's very move. It freaking pissed him off to be in this boot for a long time. And he hit like a plateau where it wasn't getting any better. We're 6 months in the boot. It's just not moving the needle.
6 months in the boot. Holy
exactly. And so we leaned into our community and they were like, yep, peptides, let's go. It gave us a BPC regimen to get on. At first back then it felt like kind of black market because you would like pay on one app and order on another app, and then it comes in a white envelope with it looks like you're ordering drugs or something. Yeah. Really scary, right? Really scary. Now it's much easier because it's much more mainstream. Okay, you can pay with your credit card and stuff like that. You don't have to Venmo. So every night while we were trying to heal before he had tried peptides, if we were watching TV or reading, I would take one of those jade like gua sha tools that women use on their face and try to get the scar tissue down because that's what the surgeon had said.
Scrape it, right?
Try to get it down. And so I knew what we were dealing with because I was the one helping him out with it. It felt like that old school big lead chew bubblegum used to chew back like in the 80s or 90s where your whole cheek was like that. Yeah, it felt like a dried up wad of that in his thing, not like to be gross or anything.
Sure, yeah.
And it wasn't moving much at all with the gua sha tool before we did the BPC 157. And then afterwards, literally within a few weeks, I was like, I can't even find it anymore. Like it was smaller and smaller and smaller until one night I was like, babe, I can't even find the stupid thing I'm supposed to be like trying to help you massage out of your ankle.
Yeah.
And that's when the light came on for us that we're like, oh, this freaking works.
Yeah.
I mean, this really works.
What did you like? Because so that was an injection, obviously, BPC 157. And I want to break down like why that, because that comes up probably more often than, but were you injecting like right next to it, into it, like? Yeah.
So that's a good question. So for most peptides, you can just inject into adipose fat, right? So it's a sub-Q injection. It's not IM. So for all of if your dudes are on the audience, any of you guys that are using like testosterone injections, for example, I know that's relatively common, or at least in our entrepreneurial audience that's staying in the forefront, it's relatively common.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like our maybe the circle that we run in, Joe, is a little more health forward, but I'm hoping everyone is picking up on this.
Yeah,
exactly. So if you're doing a testosterone injection, for example, that's IM, intramuscular, and it's a bigger, fatter needle, and it hurts more, quite honestly. But this is a tiny little, like, it's an insulin syringe is what it is. So the needle is super, super tiny, right? It's super, super tiny.
It's like a hair.
And
it's tiny.
Yeah, exactly. And you're injecting a tiny amount. I mean, for God's sake, Joe, I'm not a doctor. I'm not Nurse Joy from Pokemon or whatever. But we did it at Perry's event to help your hand, like, immediately, remember?
Yeah, no, it was pretty funny. So it was like right after our friend Deb Cole spoke on stage.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you had some BPC 157 you brought for me that day because you're like, Joe's fucked up. Sorry
Yeah.
for my language, but I was. I was like in a splint, and you're like, I'm gonna bring the goods. Like the day before you said this. And then
Yeah.
yeah, I just like I had a little crowd of people around to watch it because they were super curious. And you gave the injection right there in front of, on the one of the tables after everybody
Yeah,
left the
I'm
room.
not,
And
yeah, exactly. He gave me
I've been doing
permission,
it
you guys.
myself now. And
I'm not a nurse, but honestly, he was like
I don't know.
trying to do the hand that he would normally write with. So he was like, yeah, this is not going to work. I'm not doing
No,
it myself.
no.
So
But
like,
to your
yeah,
point though, it's been easy for me to inject it myself and no problem. I
yeah.
mean, I just I think the hardest part is figuring out how to mix all this stuff together, reconstitute, which we'll
Yeah,
talk about.
exactly.
But
Exactly. Okay, so let me answer your question really quickly. So with BPC 157, the closer you can get to the injury site, the better effectiveness, at least we've had in our experience.
yes.
But if you were using it more generally, or depending on what your stack is, most people are just injecting in their adipose fat, which is like any fat that you have. So typically like
Mhm,
around your belly, around your thighs, even
mhm.
like the back of the arm or something. You need a little, a little junk in the
Little
trunk, kind
wiggle.
of. You need a little, yeah, like
Good
you
for it.
need a little
Yeah.
fatty area. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And then it's just sub Q. You're intentionally not, you're not going for a vein or anything challenging like that. You're just putting it in, much like people who do insulin every day.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
So yes, BPC 157 close to the injury site. Our other peptide stack, nope. We just rotate through different fatty areas in the body. So
Okay.
just to
Okay.
circle back and make sure we're clear. I was
Yeah,
clear on
no,
that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to walk it even up a level again to say like what are peptides? Because like they come in different forms. Like you could buy peptides technically at Costco that have like collagen and you mix in your smoothie. Or
Yeah.
there's people that say like, "Oh yeah, I put peptides on my face at night." Like one of my neighbors said that. And I'm like, "These are different." But also I don't know like so how would you
Yeah.
describe it? Because I'll just say when I bring this up to people, like they're just like, even if they're not in the entrepreneur crowd, like some of my neighbors, and they're just like, I need to sit down and just learn about peptides and like what the hell you're doing. So
Okay, well, this would be an amazing place to say, first of all, Joe and I are not your doctors. We're not medical professionals. Like, I swim in the pool of medical professionals because I'm the CEO of Heal at Scale,
mhm.
right? Because I
So your
just
book,
finished a
yeah,
book that helps. Yeah, I just finished a book that helps health entrepreneurs get cash pay clients. People are willing to pay out of pocket. So, like, this is my world, right?
yeah,
So I swim in that world, but I'm not a doctor. Joe asked me to do that. I was like, okay, but I'm legally off the hook, right? So, like, I had to go down massive rabbit holes. I'm talking about, well, some of y'all were watching Netflix sequences. Like, I was just taking peptides course because I'm a dork and I'm like just curious about it because I had never, we had tried everything with healing Travis's ankle and it wasn't working.
mhm,
And then when I saw what was happening with him, I think that you and Heather knew this, but like I had a terrible case of SIBO.
mm,
And because I was on like the superior diet, I thought, oh, I must have gotten SIBO because I ate too much out at a restaurant. I'm going to eat even cleaner. And
yeah,
I didn't realize that the type of SIBO I had was actually from fresh raw vegetables. Like it loved vegetable fiber. So I was inadvertently making my condition worse instead of
absolutely.
better before I figured out what I was doing, right? So I decided I would try it to sort of get over all the damage that I had done to my intestinal tract, my digestive system. And I got on my own stack. I got some help with that. And I got on my own stack. And sure enough, those problems that had been lingering and I couldn't quite put in the rear view mirror, like just handled. Whereas I had tried everything like diets and my IgG powders and different probiotics, like all the things, right? All the things I could put in my mouth and try to
Mhm.
solve the problem I had already tried. And because it was dealing with the digestive system, but through the bloodstream, not through the digestive tract itself, that's my hypothesis of why I was probably able to put it in the rear view mirror, right? I was actually
Uh,
providing something that wasn't going through the digestive tract that was already not operating the ideal, optimal way that it should.
yeah.
So I went ahead and Joe, I shared with you as we were coming on that Travis, if you guys don't know Travis Houston, he's freaking marketing genius,
Awesome.
AI guru. He's like so smart. I'm lucky enough to be married to this gorgeous man, and he knew I was coming here today, so he made a pretty URL for you guys. If you go to getmypeptides.com, you could get all of the research that Travis and I compiled. So it lists all the courses that I take and a link in case you want to take it. It lists all the books that I really loved. Like there's a lot of them out there, but some of them are absolute crap and some of them are so good that you feel like, oh, you're going through your little med school kind of course. You know what I mean? So we just compiled all of the information that we use to gain our own information, to come up with our own pep stack, to then go to our provider and say, hey, like, this is what we're looking at doing. What's the ups, what's the downs? And quite frankly, even our practitioners were like, okay, I know about this, but I don't know about that. So track yourself. So you'll also see in that document that I created like a tracker so I could track when I reconstitute them, how much I'm using and what my symptoms were. And I don't want you or your audience to have to recreate all of that. So we put it into one document for your audience so they can go get all of that at getmypeptides.com.
Getmypeptides.com. We'll put the link in the show notes and Jake put it on the screen too. This is like, I'm on here. I'm just looking at the document and you just got to get it. Like, I don't know if you're going to have an opt-in or not right now. You don't. If you do, it's worth it, whatever.
It's just for you guys.
Yeah, so literally go there because I'm just looking. Some of these I didn't know about. So I'm going to be definitely diving into a couple books and the resources. You have a GPT that I think Travis made.
Yep. He took all of the favorites like from the books and from the courses that I took and he just put it all into a GPT so you can interact with it. So if you're like, okay, well, my libido's falling off, like, and I'm this old and this is what I've tried and this is what worked, you can just kind of have a conversation with it. And guys, it's a GPT, you know what I mean? So obviously it'll keep warning you. This is not medical information. You have to do your research. You have to talk with your doctor. You need to see what your, you know, where you're at with your health and where if it's a good idea for you or not. We're not advocating everyone do it. We're just admitting that there's a peptide conversation happening sort of like underground. Yeah. And I think it's time that we actually bring it above ground and start sharing information, sharing resources, talking about who's paying and even overpaying for this, because I'm seeing some offers where it's like $100,000 to get a simple blood test and then somebody to help you with your pep stack. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, are you kidding me? And so that the whole price thing is part of the reason I put that document together, because I had friends who were buying it at other sources and we like won't name names. But the stack that I'm on now, between me and Travis's stack, we could easily throw down $1,200, $1,500 a month on peptides. And that was crazy. And so I started digging into, okay, how many labs in the world make these darn things? How many, right? Because as marketers, like you and I know, you know, you can market something. I know the number, but yeah, you can market something Tiffany style and price it really high. And that tennis bracelet, that's $100,000, right? Or you can buy a tennis bracelet at Target. You know what I mean? You're like, so because of our marketing experience, I was like, how much of this is marketing and how much of this is like medical grade differences? So in going into that rabbit hole was part of what had me put that document together for my friends. I even gave you the early version of that, right?
You did, thank you.
Because I was like, wait, people are like grossly overpaying for things. And I was a snob, you know me, I'm like such a snob, food snob, quality snob, that. And so I was like, I want to see the certificates of authenticity. And like some that I ordered, I would have the vial and the vial lot number and the cert that they sent me didn't match. And I was like, okay, that's not a fit, because I don't want anyone who will send me a cert that's not valid. And so it took a bit to find the right people where I felt like, okay, they're actually sending me the certifications of authenticity, the purity, and the lot numbers match on the vial, right? So you're like, okay, it took a while to find someone that I trust, that was priced reasonably. And that's who you'll see I link to my source in that document.
Yeah. Your document, again, you have like, it's way more than you even gave me. And then when you gave me all that information, before everything, it was just like through text messages. I was just like, holy moly, there's a whole world I did not understand or know. There's books, there's resources, there's this really cool like encyclopedia thing that maps out all of the peptides and exactly what they're used for, how to use it, when to use like. So this information we have, now everyone listening and watching has access to. I'm going to call it out again, getmypeptides.com. Again, totally.
Yeah, and some of the sites, it's like you said, some of the sites are garbage and some of the sites are amazing and so helpful. And for me, the distinction between garbage and helpful was, did it link to actual research? You know, like I want I want to see actual research. I don't want to just be like, oh, you believe that's what happened, right?
No
So like
believing.
you'll see a link to that petpedia.org, which I really love that one because when it comes time to reconstitute things, you need, you're not going to remember it all. So like you kind of need help once you get your stack into the tracker. So if you use the tracker, when you go to that document, you guys, you'll see if you'll scroll down, like one of the assets that I use is the tracker. Once you make your tracker and you have noted, oh, this is how much bacteriostatic water I add, this is when I reconstitute it, well then, yeah, it's going to become easier for you because you already know what you're doing. But when you're first figuring it out, I think it's helpful to have all of those assets in one place.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. The tracking is smart because I've reconstituted, like I said, that was probably the most confusing part. But like once you figure it out, and it's easy. You just got to understand
Yeah.
what the heck you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
The world's top entrepreneurs are already cloning themselves with AI, and you can too. At AI Build Team, we've already helped industry leaders turn their knowledge into AI-powered digital twins that teach, sell, and engage on autopilot. It's not the future, it's literally happening right now, so don't get left behind. Head over to aibuildteam.ai/Joe, and you can talk with my AI twin. You'll instantly see how it works and how it can help you scale. So again, head over to aibuildteam.ai/Joe. Question. So you've mentioned stack many times, your peptide stack.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is that and how does someone figure out their stack?
Yeah. Okay. Well, your stack is, first of all, your stack just means the peptides that you're on. That's all it means, right? So it's like an outfit, right?
There you go. Yeah.
And an outfit can be whatever you want, right? You want to wear a dress, you want to wear a top and jeans and heels and a jacket. Like you can mix and match your stack based on what you're trying to achieve. Okay. So there's a lot of guys who are on the Wolverine stack, which is BPC 157 and TB 500 for like getting muscle mass on faster, right? They call it the Wolverine stack, right?
Okay.
Exactly. There's like, you'll hear the Phoenix stack, which is like a popular woman. Like everybody has their own stack. But how do you create your stack? You get your health goals, like what's going on. So in Travis's case, there was an immediate, like in your case, there was an immediate thing that needed attention, right?
Yeah.
But then there's also things that you can do for longevity. You know, like a lot of people are on BPC 157 and TB 500, and they're just doing that as a longevity play. A lot of women and men too are incorporating GHK copper in their peptide stack because they want the skin and the hair growth and you know what I mean? So you want to figure out what you want. Like, what is your goal, right? I want to live longer and look beautiful as long as I can. And that's your only goal. Well, then you're going to be doing your research for those peptides specifically. And it's like everybody, even if that's the goal, right? For some men who experience pattern balding in their family, they might be specifically looking for things that are going to help them with their hair, right? Whereas people who the men in their family keep a head of hair forever, they might be more concerned about wrinkles and muscle density, muscle composition and bone density, that kind of thing. So you want to get clear on what the heck do you want? Like, what do you want out of it? You know, if there's an injury, if it's immediate, then your immediate injury and your first experience with peptides might be like what happened to us. There's an injury. We're going to try it. We're going to track our symptoms. In that case, that's a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you what I did. Again, I'm not a doctor, but here's what I did. I was like, here's the symptoms that I'm dealing with. Here's how I measure how intense those symptoms are, because I don't want to be throwing money at peptides if I don't need them, right? So I want to measure, here's my goal, and here's the metrics by which I will measure whether or not I'm moving the needle on that goal. And then here's my research on the stack that I believe is going to work best for me. And that's where then you want to get into cahoots with your practitioner, and you want to make sure, like, okay, is there any contraindication in case you're on anything or you have a health condition? Like, obviously you need to do your own work and do your own research. We're all grown-ups here. So then there's that. You pick your stack, you do your research and you pick your stack. And then for me, like, the proof is in the pudding, right? Like, I don't want to pay for any peptide that is not getting me a goal. You know what I mean?
No.
So that's my process for doing it. Then once you've picked your stack, then you need to look at, well, what are the avenues for using that stack. Okay. So the vast majority of peptides, because they are very fragile little entities. Okay. They're simple amino acids with sometimes single bond connections. And anything that has like anything that's fragile like that, like you'll see a lot of people in the videos explaining how to reconstitute that, like, don't just squish the bacteriostatic water in there really fast. Release the water in there nice and slowly. Don't shake it up like it's a shaker ball where you're trying to get your creatine to dissolve in the water with a little metal ball. No, you don't want to do that. You're literally rolling it slowly because they're fragile bonds, and we want to teach them when we want to treat them as such, right? So some you have to reconstitute with bacteriostatic water and they're injectable. Some, like NAD+, for example, is one that you can reconstitute with bacteriostatic saline, and you can use it as a nasal spray, right? So if your injectable stack feels a little heavy, you want to be looking for, okay, how many of these could maybe be done as a nasal spray? And if you use the research sites that I put in that document, you can see that it's showing the efficacy based on the delivery model. Like, so, nasal, you might get, an 87, whereas injectable is 98, 99, 100% efficacy, right? Well, if you've already got a stack that you're injecting a lot, it might be worth it to take a tiny hit in the injectable and do a nasal spray, for example. And then there's this whole debate, and, we won't go down that rabbit hole very far, but there's this whole debate of, can we take peptides orally? Okay. And there is a process, I think it's called the stack process. So there is a process by which they're trying to make peptides survive the digestive process so more people can take them that way. I've only tried them minimally. I didn't notice any difference at all the way that I did with injectables. So for me, I just bounced right back to doing injectables. Then there are some that can be absorbed topically. So like GHK copper, that anytime it has copper in the name, right? So there's copper in the peptide. Anytime there's a metal that you're injecting in the body, you can have a browning at the site, at the injection site, and it can hurt a little bit more at the injection site. That's like the metal interacting with your body. I highly recommend you guys, if you are geeky and like OCD about this, like me, then go take a course, read the books, right? So because of that, I prefer to reconstitute my GHK copper and either put it in a roller, like a little roller ball, or I used to put it in a roller ball and just put it in my like crow's feet areas at night before I went to bed. But then I talked to one of my favorite coaches on peptides, and she was like, you could just reconstitute that GHK copper and put it in your night serum. So that's what I do now. Just reconstitute it, put it in my night serum, and like we're good to go.
Oh, so you're doing, so that's topical then, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a topical one. But can all of them be absorbed topically? No. That's why you have to do your research. So how do you pick your stack? Like, well, what am I looking for? Right. So for me, and I know that, hopefully this is not too much, but I know Heather was kind enough to share with me, I was not solo in rolling through struggles when I hit like hormone changes,
I think that's a lot of women, or all women.
Yeah, it's a lot. So for me, I was like, okay, I would like my emotions not to be a 10 when I know it should be a 2. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want, like, I'm tall and I'm thin. And I just started to notice like a redistribution of weight that wasn't me. And so that was one of my things to recenter. You know what I mean? So you have to get really clear on what's going on that's bugging you, or what are your health goals. Then do your research on what are your options within that world. What are the peptides that can support that? And some that I'm seeing, the most exciting for me that I've seen are my friends who were doing more conventional GLP-1s and they switched to like a retatrutide peptide instead, which gives you the same benefits as those. They got the same benefits as those other GLP-1s, but it also had a longevity and beauty play. So they're like, hell yeah, I'll totally take this.
Okay.
They only have to do it, once a week. It's less expensive. It also had health benefits. So like that was a winner when they did their research. And then of course they find out, okay, how do I reconstitute it? What's my frequency? What's the duration of the cycle? Right? So the cycle is how long do you take it? And then you take it off. So for example, Reda, like most people I know, are doing 2.5 units and they're doing it once a week because its half-life is 6 days in the body, right? And everybody's research is different, right? So that's the people who I trust. That's the conversation that I trust. So they're going to track that in the tracker right here. And then they're going to be noting their symptoms. did they lose weight? Did they hit a plateau? Some will notice, okay, I love what retatrutide's doing, but it made me tired. And then they can circle back and research and find like a MOTS-C or an NID might help to bring the energy levels back up while their body is getting used to the way that your body starts processing insulin and sugar. Like it just becomes a different conversation because it's really, some of them are really affecting your brain and the way that it tells the body to act. Whereas some of them can be affecting more locally like tissue. So that's where doing your research, like anything, right? You have to do your research and make sure, that your stack aligns with your goals.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And again, I'm just going to shout it out again because like you got to getmypeptides.com. I'm like your biggest call to action fanboy right here. Because there's a lot of information. There's probably like more than we'll ever go into on this episode because of so much. So definitely go research like what all these different peptides are. If there's like terms that Joy has used so far, just literally do some research and go deeper.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys can DM me on Instagram too. Like I'm totally an open book. There's already Joy Houston. She's like a wedding designer. So I'm at Real Joy Houston, but like DM me your questions, you guys. Like I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help.
He's not a clone.
Yeah. And it becomes like this whole thing. Like I have this, I don't know if you can see this, but like this looks like a thermos. Like I might carry my soup to work or something, but it does become like a lifestyle thing, a culture thing. And there's people who've like 3D printed these cool little containers. This is what they look like, you guys. So if you've never seen it, it's like they come in these little tiny jars, looks like a little insulin. But if you were to see it up close, it's a powder, right?
Yeah,
so it's a powder.
It's like a fluffy looking powder, but it doesn't just like move around. It's kind of like this patty almost at the bottom. But when you put the backwater in there, bacteriostatic water. I'm learning all these
water, exactly.
Yeah, when you put it in there, it basically goes clear almost immediately. You roll it around with
exactly.
It. Yeah,
exactly. And he said it right. You roll it, don't shake it. You just roll it.
I learned.
Yeah, but you can see it's become a whole subculture because this thermos did not have this super cool little thing that I'm like, it looks like I'm carrying nuclear secrets around the world or something, but like it's like a 3D printed. So like there is a subculture. There's such a big subculture of us using it that somebody thought to do a 3D printed thing that fits like perfectly inside the thermos so you can have stacks of your peptides instead of them like rolling around in your freezer and
that's true story.
I was storing exactly. Did you have that rolling around?
I kept it in the box that I got it in, but still I'm like okay, it's still clunky. Like I need
exactly. So I keep them in the freezer until I reconstitute them and then I transfer them to the refrigerator and they stay in the refrigerator once they're reconstituted. That's how I do
that's
it.
actually a
and
question.
I even like and I put the links to these like weird, I'm so OCD, you could totally call me out on it, but like I put the links to finding the right thermos and finding the 3D inserts on Amazon so you don't have to go hunting. And like even my little travel case, I was just in Florida for Dr. Fab's event, that Fab Life event, and had my peptides with me with a little cooler. And by the way, I only had a carry-on and I was like, well, are they going to be fine with this? You know what I mean? And sure enough, they did look in the bag and I was like, what is this? And they thought it was insulin. And I'm like, it's my peptides. And they were like, okay.
Oh, really?
Actually, they had a ton of questions like, oh, wow, what are you using them for? I've heard good things. So here I am like chatting with the TSA guy. Yeah.
Well, see, this is all right. So this is why I wanted to, I don't know, it's like last question or somewhere around there, but why does it seem like it's underground? Why is it a subculture? Why is it not talked about more freely? And whereas like when you bring it up to people get super interested, even the freaking TSA agents. So
I know.
What's going on?
I mean, I don't want to sound like those wackadoodle, like tinfoil hat conspiracy theory people. I don't want to sound like that, honestly. But I have to say that it feels like, and remember, like my whole business, my whole world is in the health and wellness and medical kind of arena. That's all of the people that I serve. Okay. Yep. So even as someone who's been in that space for over a decade, I will admit that, our medical system kind of feels like a little bit of a mess, right? Like we're overpaying for our insurance premiums and apparently they're about to double, right? And then God forbid you have to use it. Yeah, right? God forbid you actually have to use that insurance and then you find out, well, shit, it doesn't cover anything anyways, right? And then you find people who are trying to say that, like, oh, diet and lifestyle make a difference. And something like, let's say, stem cells, for example, might make a difference. Or someone finds that, oh, high alkalizing the body when you have cancer is showing that makes a difference. Well, for God's sake, Robert Young, who advocated for alkalizing when someone has an extreme disease like cancer, in which the body, can be very acidic in that state. And those people are in jail. You know what I mean? Or like, how many people do you know that like went to get stem cells, but they had to go to Mexico or Sweden or Norway? They had to travel abroad to get these things because there's no way to slap a patent on it and to make it at scale and make shit tons of money on it. So again, I don't want to be one of those weirdos who's like a conspiracy. I don't want to be like that. But at the same time, I cannot deny that there are things that happen in the health and wellness space that do kind of stay underground for reasons that unfortunately seem like they have a lot more to do with money and business and politics and just bullshit than it does with, that actually works. You know what I mean? So I do think, unfortunately, that's part of it. And then why does this one stay underground? I have to say, no matter what site I've ever ordered my peptides from, they all say, like legit on the site, on the bottle, they all say for research only. Or like someone will be like, oh, not for human consumption or whatever. So like they've kept this whole thing where the FDA is not just going to green light it and be like, woo, everybody take peptides and you can get them at your local health food store. You know what I mean? So I think, unfortunately, I think it has to do with just our culture, unfortunately.
I think you're right. And I mean, that's the story I've heard from literally everyone who knows enough about peptides. So I don't think it's even a tinfoil hat, really.
Okay.
I'll just say, and I think you know that too. But I host a separate podcast from this one. I don't talk about it a lot. I really should, but it's called the TPE Blueprint. And it's with a company called MD Lifespan and this Dr. Paul Savage. It's great. And
is that the blood circulation where they're filtering and taking all the like plastics and molds and stuff out of the bloodstream?
I just had that done last week. So I did the first.
How are you feeling?
I feel fabulous. And I'll quickly say it because their treatment is it's not covered by insurance, at least like not for most people. It's pricier than most people can afford, but the idea is they want to go more at scale and make it affordable. But it's expensive right now. I mean, so but it's literally I'll do a whole episode on this probably later on, but they cycled 8 liters of my blood. So that's all of my blood. And it took 2.5 hours and immediately it pulls out all of the plasma from my blood. I held up all the plasma that came out of me at the end of it. It was like this really dark orange juice almost. And it's cloudy because of toxins and other stuff. But I'll do a couple more sessions, so that should lighten up. And so it's like in another month, I'm going to do it again. And then a month after that, it's basically, I mean, I guess just to say the process really fast, so it's not like lingering. So all the blood comes out, plasma gets pulled out. So I have blood going out of one arm, back in the other arm, kind of like you're donating.
Your own blood coming back in. Okay, got it.
But they have albumin put into my blood along with some, I think it was some saline or just something that basically wouldn't clot. But the albumin is essentially, it's from donated human plasma that's been like radiated, cleaned, and all that stuff. So it's clear. It's like a yellowy clear. But that basically is like a placeholder until my plasma regrows. It takes like 78 hours or 72 hours or something like that.
For your own plasma to regrow in your body after.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it took about, and right after I get that done, that took 2.5 hours. Then there's an IV, had like 14, 15 different supplements and, minerals and all that stuff that gets put right back into me. So that takes another hour. And then now I'm doing this like clean shake. There's basically still a detox protocol happening, but I was just a little tired afterwards, and that's normal. Blood sugar level comes down, all that stuff. But literally I'm like waking up, way less brain fog. It's like more of a clean focus feel, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like not jittery. I mean, I started with 23 toxins and a lot of molds, weirdly enough, microplastics. those are hard to test for, but we all have it in us. Like even in our
Yeah.
brains it's fucking nasty. Even kids are being born with this stuff right now, like
God.
from utero. So it's in everything. But basically, all that stuff's going to get taken out. So it should go to zero after these sessions.
Amazing.
And but again, it's a protocol. It's something that most people don't know what it is. That's why we started a podcast on it. And we have doctors of all sorts of walks of life, a lot of precision medicine doctors, because they're not in the system. And
Yep.
they're saying the same shit you are, Joy. So I wouldn't hold back, because they're saying like,
Yeah.
well, you got to do, it's not it, like it's there's studies on it. It's been around for years, but for whatever reason,
Yeah.
insurance isn't going to cover because it doesn't follow their protocol.
Yeah, exactly. And then the moment someone goes online and says, "Oh, I did that process and my years of suffering with mold migraines or,
Hmm.
any of those things," then then we have to be really careful to protect our clients like that because
Yeah.
then, oh, is that a claim? Are they, and then before you know it, you've got the best people wanting to lead us to optimal health in orange jumpsuits because they're
Mhm.
doing the right thing.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
yeah, but we should have a side conversation about that because that process is definitely something my practitioner audience would be very, very interested in. So I'll
Cool.
message Heather and see. You guys need to
Awesome.
come over for dinner, anyways.
Absolutely. We'll make it happen. I need some of Travis's nice cocktails. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the
Oh my
best. I've
God.
got to
Yeah.
put him on
Top
blast
notch,
here.
right? Then you're gonna need another blood transfusion.
That's it's but yeah, like I don't drink much, but I'm
Me
like,
neither.
I've
Me neither.
had, a couple wines since then, and it's
Yeah.
weird because like the cravings of certain things have definitely dropped. It's only been like a week.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's still early, but
Yeah. Okay. I want the inside scoop on that.
it's very interesting because I feel like the effects, like it's a lot cleaner of what I put in my body, assuming it's gonna be good though, more or less. But even like alcohol, I'm like, don't really feel
Don't
any
eat it.
weird. Like I don't need it, but even then,
Yeah.
I had a beer the other night at Speakeasy.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm like, I feel a little bit. I'm like, felt fine, and I was like, didn't even
Yeah.
feel the beer. I was like, wow, this is. It was more of a test. I'm like, am I gonna feel the high ABV? Didn't really feel it, so I don't know
Yeah.
what's happening, but
Yeah. Yeah. But I think you're in the marketing space, in that AI space, in the entrepreneurial space, and here you are doing something that's at the bleeding edge of what's possible with
literally,
our health.
yeah.
And that's how Joe and I came to be talking about this, right? Because we're both in that same space. He serves a different niche than me, right?
Yep.
But I do see that in our industry, and maybe that's because we're blessed to be, abundant and have the bandwidth to be able to do stuff like that. And I fully,
Network
fully acknowledge
proximity.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, that this isn't, like he said, that process is expensive. Peptides are, grossly expensive in some cases, very
Yeah.
affordable if you do them responsibly and source them well. But I do think there is this in our space that we swim in. There is a lot of desire to stay on top of our game, to
Oh
stay
yeah.
in the forefront of our health. And I love that now came out on the podcast because the more that we're all willing to say, hey, I feel like I have an unfair advantage and I,
Uh-huh.
I, I would like everyone else to know too, because if I'm getting wins, I want to share those wins.
Absolutely.
I'm super stoked that we're getting to share that. And I don't own that company like that, any of those, like,
No.
yeah, there's like an Amazon, but who cares? It's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like, if there's information that we can share with your audience, my audience, like, let's do it. Like, let's get
Yeah.
the word out there. We might all make
Amen.
it to the singularity, right?
I don't know. Some say that we're actually there already with AI. So I
I
don't know.
believe it. I believe it.
That's what
I
I've
think
heard.
Travis would go ahead and plug right in.
Oh yeah, I know. He definitely would. I might be right behind
Yeah.
him. I'll let
Yeah,
him test it
exactly.
first though. No, I'm a Joy. I'm stoked that we talked about this. I know we'll do a round two on more of
Yes.
like some of the Heal at Scale stuff that you're doing. Talk
Yeah,
about your
yeah.
book and how practitioners are scaling themselves because that's what you do all the time. But I think there's
Yeah.
there's that concept can be also applied to a ton of other business owners, right?
Yeah, and you know how it is. It's like good business strategy, good marketing, good sales processes. Honestly, like those apply to any any business owner. But for me, like when I looked back over all the, clients of our first decade at Launcher, it was like, which clients do I love the most? Which ones would
Mhm.
I like jump out of bed to serve? And it was all the wellness, the health, the health celebrities, those kind of things. And
Yeah.
so that's how come we went, we went and did Heal at Scale because I love serving that audience. But yeah, what we're going to talk about next time, it'll serve everybody. It's changed the quality of my life because literally I work the first 3 weeks of the month and then we have what we call Thrive Week. And I'm going to tell you how we got there, how we set it up, and how all of our practitioners had followed suit. And they absolutely love it. So I want to make sure your audience knows how to do that. We'll talk about that next time.
That is rad. And is Heather, my wife, gonna love Thrive Week if I apply that?
She's gonna love it. You're gonna love it. You'll have a little bit of paranoia that will set in that it's not gonna work. My
Normal.
clients will freak out. My business will fall apart. And like, and I only know that because I experienced myself,
Yeah,
you
for sure.
but now it's the sanity saving, marriage enhancing, money making like secret of
Okay.
how we get so much done so efficiently and we stay so passionate about it. We're never on the thread of burnout.
Nice. Okay. We're gonna record that one very soon. So let's
I think
y'all
we
keep
record
a
next
lookout
week,
for it.
right? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. So all right, Joy, is
Yeah.
there anything else on the peptide things that we left uncovered? And if so, let me know. But if not, what's something like you're super excited about or just looking forward to in terms of maybe it's peptides or just health in general that you're like, the biohacker stuff, like anything that you're kind of thinking about
Yeah.
or yeah.
Yes. Okay. So there is a peptide that I'm experimenting, and this is for both the ladies and the men out there
Yeah.
because it works for both sexes. But it is a libido enhancing, like on the spot. Like you can
On
just
the
be like,
spot,
okay,
sure.
well, it's date night. You're like, okay, 45 minutes before date night, I'm gonna try this new peptide. So I will report back when we record the other one. Like, okay, was it awesome or not awesome? And maybe that's TMI for your audience.
Whatever.
But like, I'm really excited about excited about trying that one for sure. Like
What's
that
it
one's definitely
called?
there.
Just so we're seeding that too.
Oh my gosh, I actually,
I-
it's so new that I need to grab my phone and like tell you really quick, but
I
I
have
totally
my
will.
Petpedia open right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna pull up my order and I will tell you exactly which
Take
one
your
it
time.
is.
It's all good.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? It was just one of those things that, like, as you age, you want to be like, okay, how do I optimize for all the things that make life fun?
Hey man,
And
that's
having your
life.
libido hang, that definitely keeps things fun. Okay,
Uh-huh.
I'm literally pulling up my order form. So you guys want to see, I get to put my secretary glasses on for you.
There you go.
So the one that I'm trying is called PT141. P is in Paul, T is in Tom, 141.
Uh-huh.
And I'll definitely give y'all the lowdown when we come back to talk about Thrive Week. And I'll tell you and Heather for sure.
Okay.
That's one. And then NAD plus was I was noticing that I got a little tired when I did my round of retatrutide. And so there were two options for like sort of balancing that out while your body's adjusting, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to start optimizing the way that your body, processes glucose or, uses fat, then of course, any of that's going to change your energy, how much energy you have as your body's balancing out. So my options to sort of offset that were NAD plus and MOTS-C. And I went with NAD plus and I love it. It's like I do 10 milligrams 3 times a week. 10 units. So like on an insulin syringe, it shows at 10 units, right?
Yeah.
I do 10 units 3 times a week. And it's like, bam, no like morning drag, no in the afternoon. Okay, I would like to take a little siesta or whatever.
Really?
And like,
Sweet.
yeah, I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Do you take your peptides in the morning or is there later in the day or does it matter?
Okay, so that's a great question. So for me, and that's a good reason for you to have have the tracker.
Yeah.
A, do your research, B, have the tracker, right? So I do my stack in the morning and then I do a KPV injection at night. So I do half of my KPV. KPV is just a very strong anti-inflammatory.
Oh, okay.
And so I do KPVs in my morning stack, but I do the other half of my dose in the evening.
Gotcha. So it's
Yeah.
going to spread out KPV. Okay.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. And you'll see that when you go into that document that I made you guys at getmypeptides.com, if you go into that document and you go down to my favorite educational resources, literally I have open on my phone in one of my Chrome tabs on my phone, that peppedia.org. Like that's my favorite one for just looking at the dosage, the timing. Also, if you're like, hey, I've decided that I'm going to take this stack, right? This is my stack, but maybe you hear about a cool one from a friend. I don't add anything to my stack I don't add more than one thing at a time because I want to test and see, like, I want to be able to track the results. And I always go on there and say, is there a contraindication, or is one going to nullify another one? Because you don't want to waste your money, right? So I love that as a resource for checking my dosage, my timing, and any other peptides that it might be synergistic with, meaning that it makes it work even better, or that it might detract from the efficacy of that. And it'll tell you other peptides and even other like medications. So it's super, super helpful.
Yeah, no, that's literally what I'm looking up as you were naming some of these. So if you felt like you got super lost with whatever Joy might have said, go to pep-pedia.org, and it's in the document that Joy shared. Just look it up.
Yeah.
It has all the
Yeah,
info.
look it up. Look it up.
Look
And
it
also in that education, you'll see a lot of the like online courses that I took just for my own personal information. And there's some really good ones in there. That one that's listed from, there's a couple listed from her, but Dr. Tracy Stroup, her courses are really good because they're condition specific. So they're so, and you get little protocols, you can print them out and like, okay, this person in my family is working on weight loss, or if you're working on a gut issue, or if you've been struggling with depression or ADD, like she has condition specific protocols that she explains, and she explains all of the options of all of the peptides that are known to have rock solid research in that area. And then she helps you decide or like narrow it down. Okay, well, if all these peptides can have an effect, what is the effect? What is the research? How should I put my stack together? And she's very conservative. So like be minimal instead of maximalist with what she's throwing at it, you know? And I love having the printed out protocols. Like, I mean, I don't physically print them because I don't want to be wasteful, but I have them on deck on my iPad and I just flip through them. So if, you know, my friends or family are asking, I'm like, well, you could look at this. I'm not your doctor, but you could look at this and see what you think. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm going to just send them now to getmypeptides.com. Like
awesome.
anyone who's asking me questions, I'm like, just go there. Yeah, like, it's better.
Yeah, and it's not an opt-in, you guys. Again, like my business is healatscale.com. It's a completely different business. And when you go there, you'll see opt-ins and normal funnels and stuff like that. This is like, I love Joe and his wife Heather. They're amazing. And if they're halfway decent to this audience as they are to us and our community, then I just wanted to show up big and be like, hey, don't waste your time doing all the research. If I can let you stand on my shoulders, let's go.
The show. You and Travis both over-delivered, and shout out to him. I know he's not right here.
Yeah.
Sure, he'll hear about it. Give him a big old hug. And I know well, you got the payback of the BPC 157, I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Joy, this is amazing. Love you too. Love Travis.
Yes,
you are
love
amazing.
you guys.
We're gonna come, we're gonna have some cocktails, have a good time, and talk more.
Exactly.
Of course.
Yes. All right, you guys. I'm going to plug it because in case he doesn't, but like if you're not following this guy, if you're not subscribing to this guy, if you're not telling your friends about this guy, then you are not spreading the love that is available to everyone with everything that he brings to market. So I'm just going to give you that shout out, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It makes me cry over here. Yes, do that. And then follow Joy as well. Healatscale.com. Anywhere else? You said the real Joy Houston on Instagram, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great place if they just have questions or like want to know my personal stack or whatever. Like I'm an open book.
I know. All right. Round 2 is coming soon. All right, y'all. So keep a lookout for Joy. All right. Thank you.